Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Crafts from the Third Floor. My name's Tracy and I am the host of this podcast, which is mainly about knitting, acquiring yarn, dyeing yarn and all the good stuff that is fibre related really. Today I am going to go through some finished objects, some works in progress and some acquisitions. I've got no shop update news for you this week. All the information and places that you can find me will be down in the description box, but otherwise I am NorahGeorge Yarns in pretty much everywhere online. It's been quite a while since the last time I podcast, so I can't remember exactly what I showed you last time, but for the sake of repeating myself, I'm just going to go through everything that I've finished and everything that's a work in progress apart from my granny stripe blanket. So let's have a start off with some things that I've finished. So most recently, and I haven't brought the sock blocker with me, but to be honest, you can see them better if I just hold them up like this. I finished a pair of gift socks and these were knit on my sock knitting machine. The yarn that I've used is a Mustache Yarns and it's a Jedi Mind Trick series yarn and it's the Yoda, the Masters, I think it's a set of yarns that she did, and this is the Yoda colourway. I've got a friend who is a massive Star Wars fan, so when I found this yarn in my stash a while ago, I put it to one side to save to gift to him. So I did, like I said, I did these on my sock machine on a 64 cylinder, so it's a 64 stitch sock. I did my usual rolled cuff. I actually did an afterthought heel for these socks. Let me just fold them the other way so that you can see. So I used some of the leftover yarn, which was actually two 50-gram skeins of perfectly matched yarn. So I knew that I would get perfectly matched socks. And I used what was left over to do an afterthought heel, just because I thought it would look nicer to kind of keep the stripes going. So that's how the sock itself looks. I should have put them on sock blockers really, but never mind. And then the toe is just in the normal yarn. So when you look from the side, obviously you can see where on the sock machine that's where I've grafted the toe together just there. And that is actually, because I managed to do the afterthought heel, this is on the bottom of the sock. So the top of the sock just looks like this on both pairs. So the toe was done on the machine, the heel was hand knit. Mustache Yarns, which is absolutely gorgeous, and as you can see it's got a natural either side of this lime green and then this gorgeous like camouflagey kind of big chunky stripe, and absolutely love those. I'm really pleased with how these have turned out. So they will be gifted. It's a friend's birthday next week and he's a big fan of, well, I gave him a pair of hand knit socks, which apparently he was really happy with. So it's good to know that they're going to a grateful home and that he'll love them as well. The second finished objects that I've got is my Timely sweater. And I think I did show this in early stages on the last episode of the podcast. I started this just before we went on holiday. If I can hold it up. And my Timely is knit out of two NorahGeorge yarns. The variegated one was a club yarn from Mrs. Weasley's Knit Club last year, and this is Bellatrix Lestrange. And if I hold it up closer, you'll be able to see. And the grey is Storm Cloud, which is a colourway that's in the shop at the moment. So unfortunately, the Bellatrix Lestrange colour is not a colour that's available because it was a club yarn. But the Storm Cloud, if I show you the hem, you'll be able to see the colour. It's a lovely, soft, warm, tonal grey. And I absolutely love this sweater. I've worn it quite a lot already. Even before I managed to put the buttons on, I was wearing it. I managed to get some lovely vintage mother of pearl buttons off Etsy. And I got a pack of 24. I've only used 11. But I have followed a few podcasters by stitching a spare button on the inside of the button band of the cardigan. So it's, if you're not aware of the Timely cardigan, it's a pattern by Truly Myrtle, who's Libby Jonson. It's a top-down raglan one-piece construction, super simple. It's a striped body with obviously the contrast on the neckband, the button band, the cuffs and the hem as well. And you can get a good idea of the colourways by looking at the back. It's slightly cropped and it's supposed to be a fitted sweater, although this isn't massively fitted on me because I wanted to knit it a size bigger so it wasn't too fitted. But I also wanted a cardigan that I could wear over dresses and with tops and skirts, where most of my cardigans are quite long and don't really go with that kind of outfit. And I'm so happy with this. I'm pretty desperate, to be honest, to knit another one. But Libby has just brought out another sweater pattern in the new issue of Lane magazine, which is issue 4, I believe, which is called the Kate sweater, which is a similar design. It's again, it's a round neck, more fitted jumper with a chevron detail down the front, and that you can see that on Ravelry, but it is available in Lane magazine. Lane magazine episode. Oh dear, it's been a while. Lane magazine issue 4, which is on sale now. It's the latest issue of Lane magazine. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to change the battery in my camera, so after a couple of minutes of filming, of course it ran out, so I just had to go and find another battery. So a little more information about my Timely sweater. Like I said, it's a 2-colour sweater. I knit the largest size. I knit it 99% to pattern. The only thing that I did was I knit a 3.5 inch hem on the bottom, or 3.5 inch rib on the bottom rather than the 4. The reason for that is, with it being a 2-colour cardigan, you were supposed to start with your colour A as the colour that you were using for the contrast in the button band and the hem and everything, but I didn't. And I had 3 skeins of the variegated yarn and only 2 of the grey, so I was panicking on yardage whether I would have enough grey to finish the body of the sweater and also do the contrast as well. So I cut short on the hem, but what I did first was I finished the sleeves, obviously the cuff I did, I can't remember now whether, oh yeah, and then I did the hem on the bottom, and I did the button band and everything, and I did actually have quite a lot of yarn left over from those 2 skeins. My finished sweater actually only weighs 270 grams, so even if you knit the biggest size of the Timely, it can be done out of 3 skeins of yarn, obviously depending on gauge. I did knit to gauge. I did a gauge swatch beforehand to make sure that I would have enough yarn, because even with 5 skeins I was for some reason worried that I wouldn't have enough. But anyway, yes, 277 grams, which I think is fantastic for, you know, it's a cropped sweater, but even when I say cropped, it sits, I'm long bodied, but it still sits on my hips, so it's not exactly a cropped sweater, but it's a lot shorter than the other sweaters and cardigans that I've knit in the past. But I absolutely love it. I'm going to show you again. And it's so wearable. I didn't think it would be because of the design of it. I thought I would be limited to wearing it with skirts and dresses, but honestly, I've worn it more than probably any other sweater that I've knit. I would highly recommend the pattern. It's really straightforward. It would be great even for a beginner, because even if you weren't confident enough or even didn't want to do the 1x1 twisted rib on the hem, because I know some people don't like it, which is fine. Even if you didn't want to do it, you could just do a standard 1x1 or a 2x2 or anything that you were comfortable knitting. I don't mind twisted rib at all. I actually quite enjoy it. I'm one of those really strange people. I like rib anyway. Twisted rib doesn't bother me. So I'm more than happy to knit a twisted rib because I love how it looks. And if I hadn't had the concerns about running out of the grey, I would have carried on and done the hem to the 4 inches. So apart from that, the next finished object I have is a washcloth. Really interesting. The pattern is Grandma's favourite. It's not Grandma's favourite, it's an adaptation of that pattern. It's Gramma as Grandma's favourite. And the yarn that I'm using is Sugar and Cream, I think is it? I'm not sure of the colourway, but in the ball, that's what it looks like. So it's a softly variegated white and pink. And I'm still taking part in the Yarn Hoarder Dishcloth Challenge. This is only the 4th one. I did knit a small one as well that I forgot to bring. Actually, let me just go and get that because it's quite interesting to see the different sizes of the dishcloths. Okay, so these are the dishcloths that I've knit so far. I've got this grey, which was from a pattern. If you look back in the last podcast, I think I showed this dishcloth off. So I have this grey. This is also Grandma's favourite. This was Rowan soft knit cotton. This was Drops Paris, I think it is. And this was Drops Paris maybe. Again, Grandma's favourite. So size wise, if we compare them, this was knit on a 4mm needle. This was knit on a 4mm needle, and this was knit on a 3.5mm. So that's the difference in size. Yes, they are different yarns, but not wildly different. I then used the leftovers from these two to knit another Grandma's favourite, and that was on 3.5 needles, and that came out to that size. And I'm determined to use all of the leftovers. So this, because it's on 3.5mm, the fabric's quite dense, so I think this would work really well as maybe a face polisher cloth or something like that. I don't care that they're all different sizes. So you can see, and then this one is again a different size. Doesn't bother me at all. There will be gifts for Christmas and other things like that, so I'll just pair them in sets of different sizes with some handmade soap, or soap from Lush, which was my plan. So I've got a stack of 5, and they're all wildly different sizes. Even though a lot of them use the same pattern, they look different, so I think they'll make quite nice gifts. I'm keeping all my dishcloth yarns in my lovely So Raimi bag, and it's also got a little tag on. Let's get it the right way around. It says my latest whip, and I love this bag. I just love this fabric and the lining, and that is Rachel's tag. Her website is soraimi.co.uk, and it's the perfect size to hold, excuse me, I've got hiccups. It's the perfect size to hold everything for my dishcloths, and I'm knitting my dishcloths on signature straight needles that are very sharp, and these are 3.5mm and 4mm in the 7-inch length, with, I believe, the bell finish on the top. When I ordered my signature needles, I was talking to people yesterday at the monthly meetup, which I'll talk about in a moment. I was really hoping I wouldn't like them, just from the point of view that they are quite expensive, especially if you live in the UK and you have to pay shipping and obvious custom charges once they get to the UK. But I love them. So I did invest in some interchangeables as well, which I will talk about another time. I will move on to another finished object. Excuse me. This is one that you haven't seen before because I started it when we got back from our holiday, and I obviously haven't podcasted since before we went. So my lovely friend Mina, who is the knitting expat, asked if I would test knit for her. I test knit the mix and match cardigan, if you remember that, at the beginning of the year. I think that was the first sweater that I knit this year. And when she was looking for test knitters, she asked me if I would like to knit a child's cardigan, because I'd test knit a child's dress for her before. And I said, yes, I would love to. And I'm just doing the buttons up if you're wondering what I'm doing. And I said, yes, I'd love to, because I'd love to knit a cardigan for Pippa. So here it is. This pattern isn't released yet. I believe it's coming out towards the end of this month once the testing period has finished. That is not a true representation of the colour at all. It is bright. So it is knit out of Stranded Dyeworks Castaway DK in the Piñata colourway, which is a bright pink with flecks of yellow, orange and purple and pink. The pattern itself is a cabled cardigan. So there are two beautiful cables down the front of the cardigan, either side of the button band, and there is another down the back of the cardigan. The pattern itself does have a shawl collar that folds over, but I just wanted to do a flat collar because with the yarn that I chose, I thought that the shawl collar might be a bit much. It weighs, I believe I weighed it and it weighed just under 200 grams. It came out at this is 225 meters per 100 grams. And it came out that I used 472 meters. The only changes that I did was obviously I didn't do the shawl collar, and I also knit the cuffs. I can just get that to focus. I knit an extra inch on the cuffs. That was mainly because I wanted the cardigan to last. Obviously kids grow really quickly, and I didn't want it to knit it and it last sort of this winter and that would be it. So I knit them longer, and my intention is for her to wear it, which we'll get onto in a moment. But anyway, to wear the cuffs folded over for a start, and then obviously as she grows we can just roll them down. So Pippa's favourite colour is, or was, pink, and she loved this colour, and as I was knitting it she showed quite a lot of interest in it. And as soon as I was finished and wanted her to try it on, she wouldn't. And she insisted that she hated anything pink, she hated anything out of wool, and she hated anything that I made her. Which of course you do at 3 years old after you've asked your mummy to knit you a pink cardigan. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have heard all about this. And now she has decided that she in fact likes purple. So has asked for a purple cardigan. So my lovely obliging friend Amy has agreed to indulge my rather irritating child and dye some purple yarn for her. So I will be knitting another one of these, so this will be gifted. And Pippa will get another one. The pattern itself is glorious. It's a top-down raglan construction. It's knit in one piece. Obviously it will be a paid for pattern, so I won't go into too much detail. But it's your typical top down. Your sleeves go onto waste yarn or onto stitch holders, and then you knit the body, and then the collar and button band is applied afterwards. I absolutely love the detail of the cables down the side of the button bands. I found these lovely vintage plastic buttons in my button jar, and again I have attached all the buttons and a spare on the inside. You have to excuse me. So this cardigan will be gifted to Gemma, my partner in crime. Her little girl is a little bit older than Pippa, and this will be for Amelia. So Amelia will be inheriting this beautiful thing, and Pippa will get a purple one, which no doubt she will decide she won't wear either. So I'll just show you the detail of the cable down the back. It's a large cable, but because it's a large cable, it works in a variegated or speckled yarn, I think. It's a lovely pattern. If you've never knit cables before, the cables are simple. It's a memorable, repeatable pattern on both sets of cables, the cables down the front and the cables down the back. And I can highly recommend it when it comes out. It fits lovely. The sleeves are slim fitting, which I actually really like. They probably could do with a little bit more room, but not much at all. And I actually really like the deeper rib on the sleeves as well. And the yarn is just beautiful. All the colour in that. So while I'm really annoyed that Pippa doesn't want to wear it, I'm really glad that it will be going to Amelia, because I know she'll love it because she is pink crazy. The last finished object that I would normally have with me to show you, I don't, unfortunately. It was a shawl that I knit while we were on holiday, and actually knit it as a surprise to my mum, and she's gone out and taken it with her, which is really helpful. I will just bring up the details. All the information on all these projects, including all the yarn and how much I used, is on my Ravelry. The shawl that I knit, I will put a picture up here while I'm talking. It's a pattern by Lisa Hannahs, and it was a mystery knit along. I didn't knit it as a mystery knit along. I started just before the knit along itself finished, so just before the final clue came out. It was called Slip Knit Love MCal, and it's now just Slip Knit Love on Ravelry. And it's a mosaic knitting pattern, which I'd never tried before. I'd never even heard of it before until I stumbled upon this pattern. Somebody was knitting it on Instagram, and I thought it was amazing. So instead of it being a traditional colour work where you knit both colours at the same time, with mosaic knitting you knit with one colour at one time. So you knit 2 rows of one colour, and you employ the use of slip stitches to create the design. So the pattern itself has a series of blocks of garter stitch. It's a paper pattern, so I'm not going to go into it too much. Blocks of garter stitch with sections of slip stitches to create the design of the shawl. I knit it out of 3 colours of NorahGeorge Yarns, all on Gold Sparkle, and I knit it in Sweet Nectarine, which is the lightest slightly variegated colour, and then I use 2 solids, the green, which is fur, and the pink, which is rose. And I loved the idea of the green, pink and the cream together because it just looks very spring-like. And my mum's birthday was a couple of weeks ago, at the end of February. Excuse me, I've got pretty bad hiccups. She had no idea that she would be getting it. So as soon as it was finished, it was actually, I finished it a day after her birthday and gifted it to her. I blocked it and gifted it to her on the Sunday, and her birthday was on the Friday, but obviously she didn't bother about that at all. I think in total it used 200 and about 20 grams of yarn. I'm not sure, I'll have to weigh it and then I'll put the details on my Ravelry page. But I did have quite a lot left over, which is good because I'm now using all of those scraps as heels and toes in socks and things. And it was the most enjoyable, addictive knit that I have done recently. It was so much fun seeing the pattern come out just using slip stitches, and I was just so fascinated by the construction of or the employment of the mosaic knitting and how it made all these amazing, beautiful patterns. And it really sort of set me off to look at more information about mosaic knitting, because I'd never come across it before, God knows how. Anyway, I'm now hooked on mosaic knitting. Right, so that is all of the finished objects that I've got to show you. Obviously, I don't have the shawl, but I'll try and show it next week on the podcast so that you can see it more close up and some of the design work, but hopefully I will have remembered to put a picture here. And there are more pictures on my Ravelry page if you wanted to have another look, or just have a look at the hashtag on Instagram, which was hashtag slipknitlovemcal, M-K-A-L. Right, so works in progress. I've got a massive case of cast-on-itis and I'm really desperately trying to fight it. Before I went away, I said that I'd cast on for a pair of my DEWDROPS socks, but actually while I was away I decided that I would knit a pair of the Clark socks by Jacqueline Salem, and I'm using the Snowdrop yarn, which was the charity yarn that I dyed up for Marie Curie at the beginning of the year, and this is as far as I've got. So I've not got massively far, sorry if that's blowing out a little bit. So if you haven't heard of the Clark socks, they are a design with a big cable down the front of the sock with some lines or chevrons either side, and then they have a smaller cable on the back. So that's as far as I've got at the moment. I think I'm just about finished the second repeat of the pattern. It's a really lovely pattern to knit. I'm still at this point having to pay attention to what I'm doing, but I think after a couple more repeats I'll have it down and I won't have to worry about that. So I will show you the yarns in the cakes. So this is the Dewdrop, that's my sock pattern. This is the Snowdrop yarn, and then I just dyed up a tonal to go with it for heels, toes and cuffs. And this is on my BFL base, which is a 80-20, so it's 80% superwash Blueface Leicester, 20% nylon, and it's on a high twist base, which is probably now one of my favourite bases. So that is plodding along quite nicely. I really like doing the cables, and I was again saying yesterday at the meetup that even though I've got my sock machine, it hasn't stopped me wanting to knit socks, it's just stopped me wanting to knit vanilla socks. So I'm quite happy to just plug away at these slowly. I'm in no rush. And if I just hold it up, you can see the cable design. It's just really fun knitting cables. And I'm really looking forward to having these finished. But again, I'm in no rush. They will be done when they're done. Oh, and these are living in my fringe field bag. This is my dinosaur bag. In case you didn't know, I like dinosaurs. And I have 3 new dinosaur pins. I have this one, which is a Stegosaurus with sparkly spikes. This is from Punky Pins. I have a Triceratops, a snoozing Triceratops, which has sparkly horns. I don't know whether you can see those. Again, these are all from Punky Pins actually. And a Diplodocus carrying a daisy, because why wouldn't you? So I've got all of my dinosaur themed pins on here. They're all from various sellers, but I like the Clever Girl one and Future X Mrs. Malcolm. So that is that. I don't think I've put any work on these, but I'll show you them anyway because it's been a while since I showed them. I don't think I showed them on the last podcast, so just in case you've missed anything. These are some vanilla socks in my Apple Blossom colourway, and this is on my super sock base, which is the 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And I did completely forget that I was knitting these, so these will now be thrown in my handbag just to knit on as and when I need to. I really like this yarn. It's a lovely spring colour. And I'll show you in the cake because sometimes it's a bit easier to see the colours. There we go. So it's a lovely soft tonal green with specks of a darker green, pink and yellow. I'm on a real green kick right now. I just love green. Hello camera. Camera's on a bit of a go slow today. So that is that, and I have another work in progress, which I haven't showed on Instagram because it's in its early stage. Well, I say early stages, I've spent a lot of time knitting it, but not got very far. Let me get all the colours out. It's, I'm knitting the Birkin by Caitlin Hunter, which was from issue 1 of Lane magazine. Let's get all the colours out, just make sure I've got them all. Ta-da, that's it. I would show you a copy of the pattern, but my printer is having a bit of a moment. I don't know how it feels. I'm sure you're aware of the Birkin, but for those of you who aren't, it's not a very good printout. It's a colourwork yoke sweater with a flower design. I'm knitting it out of Holstgarn Noble. So there's the label and the yarn itself. This is a combination of wool and cashmere. So it's 95% wool and 5% cashmere. And the colours that I'm using, the main body of the sweater is this colour, which is Bluestone. And the contrast colours that I have are Larch, which is a beautiful heathered green. Stonewash, I'm having to look because I've got no idea what they are. Stonewash. I know this one's Pineapple. And this is actually their super soft range. So that's 100% wool. So pineapple, which is actually a bit more yellow than it's showing on the screen. This is ginger, back to the noble base. And finally, be careful with this because it's attached. This is called camisole, which is a pale pink. So like I said, I haven't got very far. I'm not rushing this sweater because, well, for a start, when I cast it on, I thought, right, I'm going to get this knit up and ready to, I'm going to be past the colour work by the time we go to Edinburgh, and then I can take a look at the state of this. Honestly, practice what you preach, Tracy. Always wind your yarns before you put them back in the bag. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. I was going to try and get the colour work done so that I could take the body to knit on for Edinburgh, and then I realised actually I'm going to be really rushing to get it done, and I want this to be, for the amount of time that it's going to take me, I want it to be good and I want it to be wearable, so I'm not rushing it. So this is my slow knitting project, my easy, well, not my easy, but my easy paced project. So this is as far as I've got on the colour work. It will focus. So I've gone for a subtle contrast between the colours. I say that like it's deliberate, it wasn't, it was accidental, but I actually really like it. When I first started knitting it, I was knitting it in the dark and I couldn't tell the difference between the blue and the green. But now it's in the light, you can actually tell the difference. So I've just started the pink flowers, and then I will go on to yellow flowers after that in the middle with some of the ginger. So these look really pretty together, let me hold it up. So the pineapple and the ginger look really nice together, and then it will have tiny little specks of the stonewash blue. Excuse me, I'm really sniffy today. So my opinion of this whole scarf, I completely copied Amy of Stranded Dyeworks. I saw her knit something out of whole scarf. I also saw Julia of the Happy Knitting podcast knit something out of whole scarf. I'm just going to grab my 75-25 base just to show you, that's the wrong one, the difference. This yarn is very, very fine. Considering it is a light fingering weight, which you would expect it to be quite fine, but my 75-25 I would define as a light fingering. So if we can see, this is my 75-25. Okay, very fine. This is the whole scarf. Let me get the blue so you can see the contrast. Oh, sorry, I'm so sniffy. So it's incredibly fine. I don't know whether it's showing up brilliantly on the screen. It's very fine yarn. And when I started knitting the swatch, I was really concerned that it would be gappy. And if you look at the colour work, it is a loose knit, even though it's knit perfectly to gauge, especially where I started just here, and I'll talk about my provisional cast on in a second. It's looser up here than it is on my colour work, because my colour work is slightly tighter, and obviously you then have the floats which sort of pads out the gaps. But when you block it, this is my swatch, it really fills out and it is so soft. So I believe that some of the spinning oil is still left on the yarn as it comes in the cake. So it feels kind of like linen. Not exactly, but it does feel a little bit like linen yarn. So it has sort of a rusticy, crunchy, harder feel to it. When it's blocked, it is glorious, and I absolutely love it. And this colour is just so beautiful. It's that perfect balance between blue and grey, and it's heathered, and if I just double it over you might be able to see it better with that's better. It's just lovely, and it's so affordable. A 50-gram cake of this yarn I believe was £4 something, and you get 333 meters to 50 grams. So super affordable yarn, especially for a cashmere blend. The super soft is £2 something. The 100% wool is £2 something. So it's around half the price of the Noble. The super soft is around half the price of the Noble. And it's absolutely glorious to knit with. For a start, I wasn't sure, but now I'm used to the handle of it. I really enjoy knitting with it. And that's why I'm going to take my time in knitting this sweater. I'm going to enjoy it. So back to, I said I was going to talk about the provisional cast on. So in the original pattern, I'm not going to go into any details, you don't start with a provisional cast on. However, Ellie of Skein Deer Knits knit one of these Birkins, and she said that the fit of the yoke wasn't very good. Because this project is going to take me quite a lot of time, I didn't want to knit it for it not to fit and then not to wear it. So after a chat with Amy over this, she said that she'd provisionally cast on one of her sweaters that she's knitting at the moment. And I thought, actually, that's a really good idea. I'll provisionally cast on, knit the entire sweater, try it on, and then I'll know exactly how I want the neck. Whether I want a higher neck, I can use short rows to shape it properly to fit me. Excuse me. And if I leave in the provisional cast on or put in a lifeline, if my modified neck doesn't work, I can just take it out and re-knit it, which is exactly what I want, because I want this to be right. So it's in very early stages, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying colour work, and I'm really enjoying knitting my sweaters, so this is a really great project. So there it is. And I do really like that subtle difference between the blue and the green. And it's not going to scream colour, because the majority of the colour work will be in that green, the pink and the pineapple. So they're soft colours, they're not screamy shouty colours, and then we'll just have little tiny punches of these two colours here. So far I can highly recommend this Holzgarn. It comes direct, I bought this direct from Holzgarn in Germany. It shipped really quickly, it arrived really quickly. I just can't fault it at all. I'm sure from what I've already knit, it's going to make a beautiful, light, airy sweater, which is perfect for me. I'm not a big fan of big, heavy sweaters. Oh, these are so tangled, the state of this. Oh dear. Anyway, yes, I'm not a fan of big, heavy sweaters. So what I will be doing is knitting lots more of fingering weight and saving the heavier weight for the kids. Okay, sorry about that. I had a sneezing fit and then I had to untangle the yarn because otherwise it would bother me knowing it was down there and all tangled. So I have one last thing to show you. It's not yet a work in progress, although it will be shortly. I am going to be knitting for a quicker knitter project, a quicker sweater project. I am going to knit the Kate cardigan by Truly Myrtle, which I mentioned before, which is in the latest issue of Lane magazine. And I'm going to knit it out of my John Arbon Knit by Numbers, which I've had for a really long time. I bought it at a show, I can't even remember which show. So there's the label. And the colourway is KBN18. It's a soft, corally, peachy colour. It's 100% pure Falklands merino. I've caked some up already, so you can see the colour. It's beautiful. It's very nearly heathered. Or it's a 2-ply, and it does look very slightly heathered to me. So that yarn will become a Kate. I'm going to swatch for that today, and that will be my Edinburgh knitting. It's in a glorious bucket bag that I ordered from Twill and Print. I ordered this before Christmas and it only came just at the end of February. And got some awesome pins on there. These are from Punky Pins too. Excuse the language on that one. This one is from Veronica Dearly. This one is Punky Pins, as well as this one. And these two were gifts. So I'm not entirely sure where they were from. And I've got a little alpaca on the side. I'm really into my pins, and instead of just keeping them in a box like I have been doing, I'm starting to put them on project bags. So I really love this bag. It's, like I said, it's a bucket bag. It's a bit stiff still at the moment, but it has this extension on the side with a drawstring, and it has a leather strap as well, which I've tangled. God, it's tangling everything. So I can just sling it over my shoulder. And I love this, it's a hand printed fabric, like a chambray. Really, really lovely bag. So that is it for all the knitting content. Now we move on to acquisitions. But before we get to that, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I've had a big de-stash. I went through all of my yarns and I have de-stashed about half of what I had. So I sold a lot of the yarns that I bought from other people, and also lots of older NorahGeorge yarns, or ones that I had kept, which I'm just not going to have the time to knit, unfortunately. So they've all found lovely new homes, and that means that I have a more manageable stash. And I've also gone through and found all my sweater quantities of yarn, and I've allocated them to projects, which you can see in my Ravelry queue if you wanted to have a look. So I'll go through a few of the things that I've acquired first. I've acquired a couple of sweater quantities. The first one is from Maya at the Wool Barn, and it is these two colours. So this colour is Eden, and it's a soft, very soft minty green. These are on her cashmere sock base. And this one is called Copper, which is it's a bit darker than it's showing up here. It's quite blown out. If you put them together, my original intention for these yarns was to knit a Breton style striped jumper. It was a Brooklyn tweed Breton pattern actually, but since then I've changed my mind, and let me just double check. I've got my computer here so I can tell you what my plan for these is. So I've got 4 skeins of the mint and 2 of the Copper, or Eden, and so 4 of the Eden, 2 of the Copper. Isn't it lovely, that base? I'll just tell you what it's made of. It's an 80-10-10, so it's 350 meters to 100 grams. And I'm just going to have a look at my queue. I'm sure I wrote down what I was changing, what pattern I was going to do instead. Where was it? Oh yes, I'm going to do the Zweig sweater by Caitlin Hunter, which I'm sure you're aware of. If not, I'll try to remember to put a picture. Huge apologies if I don't. But this will become a Zweig sweater. So really looking forward to casting that one on. I also got I'll show you my other sweater quantity before I go on to. Do you like my new baskets? These were in the Sainsbury's sale, in case you're wondering. £4. Bargain. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So the second sweater, I'm going to knit Silver Forest, and that is by Jennifer Steenglass. I'm all over the place today. So for that sweater, I got 4 colours of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. So the main body of the sweater will be knit in Snowbound, which is this soft grey. And then the accent colours are Faded Quilt, which is the blue. It's a very pale, it's a lot paler than it looks on here. It's a paler sort of grey steel blue. This is Fossil, which is more of an earthy natural, and Camper, which is a reddy, burnt red colour, heathered. It's beautiful. So I have 7 skeins of Snowbound to knit the main body, and then 2 skeins each. I think that's the only colours that I've got. Yeah, 2 skeins each of the contrast colours. So I'm not sure in which place these colours will be, but try and hold them all together. It's really difficult. Okay, So those are my colours for my Silver Forest. So this is the main colour here, this grey. So that's 2 sweater quantities that I've acquired, and I've already decided what I'm knitting with them. That is my plan now. I'm buying only for purpose and only when I really want to cast something on. So once my Kate is done, I will move on to my Zweig, and then I'll move on to, because my Zweig, if I get that done quite early, I might still be able to wear it before the weather turns here, which, you know, probably be like August. And other acquisitions, so what I have left in my first basket is, I have some more goodies from the Wool Barn. Oops, things gone on the floor. I have this skein of twist sock, and this is in the Bramble colourway, which is lovely. And I also bought a pack of her mini skeins, which these are Signature Speckles twist sock mini set. So 5 20-gram skeins of these in different colours. You can't see them all very well. So there's a pale green, a pale blue, a pale mauve, a peach, and a yellowy buttery colour, which is that one here. I'm gonna have to put this down because it keeps slipping off of that. Okay, try and hold them up better for you. So just really beautiful. These will probably go into my blanket. If not, I will use them in socks, maybe as heels and toes or something like that. But they're just so useful having mini skeins. So those are my Wool Barn minis. I'm trying to make an organised pile here. I usually just throw things around. I had subscribed to Which Fibre Company's Honeyduke Sweet Shop Club, and this is Coconut Ice. This gorgeous bright pink mini with a pink speckled skein as well. Look at the lovely speckles on that. So delicate and lovely. I also ordered Chocolate Frog, which was the previous month, which is a glorious bright pink with this beautiful gold as well. Let's see if I can get some more speckles on that. Are just lovely. So they were from Which Fibre? I think that's all that. Oh no, there's one more. Bruised Peach. I actually knit a sweater out of Kelly's first incarnation of Bruised Peach. This is a new version which is darker. I just thought it was really pretty. So that is Bruised Peach. These are all on Kelly's 75-25 sock base. And I'm part of the Cozy Knitter sock club. So if you haven't seen February's, which you should have by now, because obviously coming from Canada to the UK, we usually get them last anyway. This is February's club colour, and this is Sweetheart. So beautiful peaches, pinks, blues and aqua. Really lovely. I love every single club colourway that Christina has done. And I totally hoard them. I've hardly knit any of them because they're just too lovely to knit. I will knit them though. I also pre-ordered, let me just take this out of the wrap so you can see it in all its glory. If you watch The Grocery Girls, which I'm sure you do, because everybody does, Jodie and Tracy have been going crazy over this Freckled Whimsy colourway. It's a striping yarn and it's called Peppermint Mocha. So I pre-ordered this a while ago and it arrived a while ago as well, but obviously it's been a while since I podcasted. So it came with an optional mini skein in this mint colour. And the main skein itself is the mint, a darker green, shades of brown and a speckled area, and the pink and red as well. So it is actually more of a Christmassy colourway, but you know, you don't have to knit it for Christmas or near Christmas at all. Just move that. I've got something else to show you that's not knitting related. I ordered the Hellebore yarn from Down Sheepy Lane, which was the second month of the Flower Power Fund yarn. This is on her sturdy sock, which is 75% superwash blue face Leicester and 25% nylon. So it's a beautiful, soft, lilac-y mauve with speckles, and then I bought an optional mini skein to go with it. So I'm going to crank this up on my sock machine, possibly, And I'm hoping to buy all of them and just have pairs of socks out of all of my Flower Power Fund yarn. I also managed to get a skein of Little Tailoress. I believe this is ice skating at the park, this colourway. And it's so pretty. It's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon blend. And Amy's put this beautiful Progress Keeper. So the main skein itself is a soft lilac with pink and mint. And then there's a soft lilac mini skein with it as well. And I love Amy's labels. It's a really pretty skein of yarn. And we're nearly there. I'm also a member of the Hedgehog Fibres Club, so if you haven't had your February yarn, look away. So there were two skeins, there's always two skeins in this club. So this skein here is Elements, which is a beigey taupey base with some amazing speckles, as you'd expect from Hedgehog Fibres. And the second skein is called Salvador, which is a bright orange, primarily bright orange with these gorgeous speckles. And I always find Hedgehog Fibres knits up so surprisingly. Even as a dyer, obviously I'm nowhere near the level of Hedgehog Fibres, but you can kind of guess how these colourways will knit up. But I'm always surprised by Hedgehog Fibres. They're always so much more beautiful knit up than they are in skein, if that's even possible. Look at those speckles. They're just so pretty. I love this area here. So that is the Hedgehog Fibres Club. I also managed to snag some of lovely Karen from Twisted Lamone's yarn. This is Dormouse. How pretty is that? Look at those speckles. She does the best striping yarn. And I love her gobstoppers. They're not firm, they're soft, so the yarn's not being stretched out too much. And it came with this beautiful brown mini skein as well. So that will become sock machine socks. And last but not least, on the yarn front, I ordered some Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight to make some Fair Isle either mittens or a hat. So the first two colours are these. If I can find the colourways in 1 second, I've got my hands full. So this is shade 141, which is a light, more veering on the side of a green teal. This is shade FC6 Mix, which is a heathered pink with a peachy tone to it. This is shade 14, which is a light blue, sky blue I'd say. A lovely buttery yellow, which is shade 66. And finally, this is shade 1281, which is a heathered beigey brown with grey. So those are colours. I think there'll be a hat, to be honest. A nice Fair Isle hat for next autumn, which I think will be really pretty. And then last but not least, I bought some skeins of Lettlopi, or Lopi Lettlopi, Lettlopi, whatever, I'm probably pronouncing it horrendously, to make some mittens for the winter, next winter, or this winter, the one that's coming up. Ah, dear me. The brown is, the colour is 53 and the blue is 1404. I just love brown and blue together. So they are all of my yarny acquisitions. I've been quite good. We won't mention the 2 sweater quantities of Quince & Company that I have on the way at the moment. We'll gloss over that. But they have plans. They are, you know, I know what they're going to be. And I destashed, so it's okay. Okay, I thought I'd finished on the yarn front, but obviously I haven't. I'd stashed this behind the basket. So I ordered a sweater quantity of Malabrigo Rios, I believe. Yes. It's a worsted weight yarn, and this will be a, oh God, pattern. What was the pattern? It begins with a T. My brain. Honestly, my brain. Where is it? I hope you're sitting comfortably. It's not in my queue now. It's, oh, I can't remember the pattern. It's a really graphic design on the top of the yoke. Anyway, if I remember, I'll put it up on the screen. These are the colours for it anyway, and it's not going to be knit up quite yet. So the top one is Nimbus Grey, which is a beautiful variegated grey with some tones of mauve, and this will be the accent colour, and the main colour is Pearl, which is a beautiful soft grey. I can't remember. Hang on, it will be on my phone. I'm very professional, can you tell? Okay. Tensho. So I have a list on my phone of all my sweater quantities of yarn and all the patterns that they're going to be knit into. So the Tensho, or what was the other one? Oh, Humulus. So Humulus is an Isabel Kramer pattern, and the Tensho, I cannot remember. Let me have a look. I'll pop a picture up as well if I remember. It is by Beatrice Perrin. Oh, it's Sumi Knits. Sorry, Sumi Knits. Let me lift my laptop up and see if you can see. There's the pattern. Save myself putting a picture up. So you can see it's quite a graphic design on the yoke. So that is the plan for the Malabrigo Rios. See, I do know what I'm doing. It just takes me a while to get there. So I have 6 skeins of the Pearl and 2 of the Nimbus Grey. Aren't they pretty together? And I love Malabrigo Rios. It's so soft. It's superwash merino, 100% superwash merino, and the yardage is 210 yards per 100 grams. So it's a worsted weight yarn. That is that. That is the end of the yarn acquisitions. Now we will go on to other things. So I dropped something on the floor a minute ago, so I'll leave that till last. I got a couple of project bags from somebody that I've bought from before, Southern Sparrow Handmade, I believe her name is. She got a label in here. Yes, Southern Sparrow Handmade. So I saw this beautiful, it's just reminded me of yoked sweaters. This lovely little sock project bag that is embroidered, and then on the back it's like a lumberjacky print, and then inside is a coordinating print. It's quite a big project bag, but I just thought it was really lovely. I really don't need any more project bags. And I also could not resist this notions pouch. If you watch Stranger Things, you'll understand. It's an Eggo that says, "She's our friend and she's crazy." So it's a quote from Stranger Things. So that's a little notions pouch. I also, while we were on holiday, found 2 bags in a beachwear shop, as you do, that I thought were just perfect project bags. So they're these little, I think they're just for putting like sun creams and things in, because they're a waterproof lining. They've got pockets, perfect, and they're reasonably big. They're kind of a boxed bottom, not massively, but look at the pom-poms. Look at those. And there's a little pom-pom on the zipper pull. So obviously couldn't resist those. And they had one in pink and one in blue. Look at that one's a bit flat. It's a bit all covered up. Look at the pom-poms. And the little zipper pull one as well. How could you not, as a knitter or a yarn fibre addict, buy these? So now I've shown them to you, I can actually use them. Everybody will just think I'm crazy, but that's fine. I also got a mini loom necklace from my friend Siobhans Crafts. She does some amazing things like this that are great for gifts. She actually put some kits together for a couple of girls in Finn's class who had birthdays recently. Little weaving loom kits that are perfect for that sort of age. You know, they've got big darning needles to put the yarn through, and they had everything in that they needed. And they've gone down an absolute storm. So these are really affordable. These are only £7 from Siobhan. You get everything in there that you need, including the instructions. And they're on a chain, and you can do the weaving to however you want. And then if you want to change it, you can just take it out and change it. So I think, how great would that be as a little gift for a friend, a fibre friend? So I can't wait to do that now that I've shown you. And I'm just going to pick something up off the floor. So while I was on holiday, I've got a couple of pins to show you. While I was on holiday, it was Unravel. And I've never managed to get to Unravel, but my lovely friend Amy picked up a little treat for me from Unravel. And I like gin, and she got me this amazing enamel pin, which is from Sue Stratford. Sorry, I should have looked before I showed you. A knitting and gin pin. So that now can go on a project bag. Now I've shown you, which is perfect for me. And also my lovely friend Julie over at Suffolk Socks very kindly sent me one of her beautiful enamel pins. That's her Suffolk Socks logo. So thank you for that. Lovely friends sending me lovely things. I've got 2 books to show you. Like I said earlier, I'm totally obsessed with the idea of mosaic knitting and plan on making some mosaic knit socks. So I ordered this book, Mosaic Knitting by Barbara Walker. And I'm not going to show you too much because it's got charts in. If I can just show you. It's basically a pattern or stitch library for mosaic knitting. And she gives you, if I hold it like that, you won't be able to see. So she gives you the design of the mosaic knitting, and then you get a chart on how to knit it. It's the same for those 2 as well. So it's just a book full of different mosaic knitting designs and charts on how to knit them. So if you've ever seen anything like that, it's just full, look, of beautiful mosaic knitting designs. And I also got this book from, and this was purchased from a yarn story, which is actually also where I got my Brooklyn Tweed Loft from. So Colour and Knit Mittens. So this is a book of patterns, but with blank. You can see the designs here. I'll show you quickly. But when you actually turn to the pattern pages, you get to colour them in your own colours, which is perfect. I thought that'd be really good fun actually, to actually design them in the colours that you've already got of yarn. Rather than seeing somebody else's interpretation, you can actually test it with the colours that you've got. So I was really happy with that. So I can get cracking on all of that now that I've shown you. And I will come back in a second. I need to stop this segment, and I will come back in a second and announce a winner for the DEWDROPS knit along. Okay, so before I went on holiday, I started off a knit along for the DEWDROPS socks, which is my first sock pattern, and we had a competition open on Ravelry. So you could enter into this competition, which was supposed to close at the end of February, but I left it a few extra days. And the prize would be a sock knitting kit. So I'm going to show you the prize now before I announce who has won it. So there was a skein of NorahGeorge Yarns, and I've chosen this skein of Berries and Cream because it goes with the rest of the stuff that I'm going to show you. So it's a lovely creamy base with some speckles of peach and mauve. When I placed an order with Southern Sparrow Handmade, she very, very kindly sent me a gift, which I thought would be perfect with this giveaway. Chosen the yarn. So it's a small notions pouch, but you could actually quite easily get a skein of yarn in there all caked up. So there's a crocheted heart on the front, which I think goes really well with the yarn. So there's that notions pouch. You also get a set of 2.5mm high sharp DP ends, a digital row counter, and an Anbud You'll be able to see this very well. I'll hold it up against this, and an ambered gauge ruler, which I stock in the shop. So this is a really nice prize for the winner of this cowl. So here is everything that you'll win. You can just see the project bag behind there. So I will just go on to random number generator. So there were 21 entries. So I'm going to do a random number generator between post 2 and 22, because I was the first post. So 2 and 22, if you can see, and we'll go generate. Hello. Oh, the joy of doing things live. Okay, so it doesn't want to work. That's fine. Let's just load it again. Okay, now it's not doing it at all. So I'm reloading it. It's probably my internet, it's shocking. You know, I'm just going to do it on the computer and you're going to have to take my word for it. So random.org, and it's between 2 and 22, and the result is number 7. So let me go back onto the discussion. So number 7, the winner is Nessa333. Let me just have a look. So you are Vanessa3586 on Instagram. So Vanessa, don't worry about getting in touch with me. I will drop you a message on Ravelry now for your address, and I will get your prize in the post. So thanks so much to everybody for entering the cowl. I hope you really enjoyed knitting the pattern, and stay tuned for a next knit along. Okay, so that is all of the admin-y stuff. I said, I mentioned earlier that I had another thing to show you. So if you're in the UK, you'll probably know that on Sunday it's Mother's Day. So this morning before recording, I went to Finn's school where they were doing a Mother's Day assembly, and we got these gorgeous little packs. So this is a picture that Finley's done of me, Finley and Pippa in a little frame. You can see on the back. So he made that for me. He has also made me, be really careful because I don't want to damage anything, a Mother's Day card with a little flower, and he's written it in himself. His handwriting's really coming on, and I'm not going to do this too much. So he's drawn a picture of me and him just there, and it says, "I love my mummy because she gives me cuddles and she takes me to the shops." Whether you can see that. So that was from Finley for Mother's Day that they did at school, and also part of the PTA at school, you get a little plant for Mother's Day. So that's my little plant. So that's where I've been this morning, watching him perform in this little assembly where they dance to some music, and they look really, if I can get a photo put in, I'll put a photo in of what he looked like, because he looked really sweet, bless him. And so that was lovely. It's a great kind of start to the weekend to see him do that. And also earlier I mentioned about the Midlands monthly meetup. So yesterday was the first. It was an idea by Kelly, who is Lay Family Yarn, and Tracy, who's Thimble and Thread Make, both on Instagram. And it's a meetup that we're going to be holding every second Thursday, the second Thursday of every month in Nottingham, and we held it at the Cafe Bar Contemporary in Nottingham, and there were about 18 of us that turned up yesterday, and it was really lovely to be able to sit and spend a few hours chatting with everybody and catching up. Deb was there from Down Sheepy Lane, Julie was there, Julie Layden, and Ellie from Craft House Magic was there. And it was just lovely to catch up with people that I'd met before and meet new people, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. So that's the second Thursday of April. I think it was the 12th. We'd decided it was the 12th. But anyway, if you're interested in coming to that meetup, if you follow Kelly on Instagram, who is Lay Family Yarn, she's going to post, excuse me, all the information on her Instagram, and she's also going to set up a newsletter if you'd be interested in coming. So I would highly recommend that. We've got a few ideas of things that we're going to do, and maybe going to have like a swap table of yarn and things like that. So if you come, just bring a skein of yarn that you'd like to swap, pop it on a table, and then you can go home hopefully with something else. So that was really good fun. Obviously we've just had a holiday, which was really nice. It seems like ages ago. I'm still horrendously suffering with jet lag for some reason. I'm really struggling to sleep. I've got a bit of a cold and just finding life a bit trying at the moment with not being able to sleep properly. We've got Edinburgh Yarn Festival next week. In fact, this time next week we'll be there. We're flying up on the Thursday night. Me and Ben are coming, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with a lot of people that I haven't seen for a very long time. So I'm really excited about that. We've also got a new Flower Power yarn available, or 2 yarns available. And they are actually in Beth's shop. Beth is Beehive Yarns. She's got 2 yarns available, which is Vintage Daffodil and it begins with a C. C flower. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, Beth. I should have checked this. It's a beautiful purple yarn. Let me just show you if I can get Beth's Instagram up. Cuckoo flower. There we go. Just while I'm trying to find it. So if you're interested in supporting the Flower Power Fund, which is raising money for Marie Curie UK, pop on over to Beth's Instagram or Beth's shop. She's Beehive Yarns on Etsy, and you can purchase her yarns. If I can just show you. These are Beth's yarns. So there's Vintage, Daffodil and Cuckoo Flower just here. And also you can buy prints of these yarns from Sam Draws Things. She's also on Instagram, and she's done some beautiful prints of these flowers as well. So there's lots of ways that you can support the Flower Power Fund, which is going brilliantly. So thank you to everybody for the support. Obviously I only did the first yarn, but it's something that I'm really interested in supporting, and I've purchased all the yarns as well so far. So if you're interested in those, then head over to Beehive Yarns and Sam Draws Things. I think that is pretty much everything I've got to go through today. Hopefully I'll be back next week and I'll be able to show you that shawl of my mum's. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or anything, then please do get in touch. Best way is probably by email, or post in the Ravelry group, which I do check more regularly now. We'll have some more cows coming up and some exciting things for spring, so stay tuned. And next week we will have an update while we're at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and there will be a bunch of Scottish themed yarns. So those who are going to be suffering fear of missing out, do not despair. There will be some Scottish themed and special Edinburgh Yarn Festival yarns available in the shop. So until next time, I will see you soon. Happy knitting.